Ryan wiped sweat from his brow. The Tennessee sun blazing down on the garage, tools clanging as he and Ethan tore into an old Chevy's engine. Two brothers, or so everyone thought, until their hands lingered too long over a wrench, their eyes locking with a heat that wasn't just from the summer day. They hid it under grease and beer cans, a secret burning brighter every night. But in that house, under Diane's sharp eyes, it was a spark ready to blow the whole family sky high. They weren't blood, but they were trouble, and trouble was coming fast. Ryan was 24, a carpenter with rough hands and a quiet grit, living in a weathered ranch house outside Knoxville after his dad's heart gave out 2 years back. Diane, his stepmom, had stayed tough as nails, a woman who'd raised Ethan alone before marrying into Ryan's world. Ethan was 22, her son from a wild first marriage, a college kid with a quick grin and a knack for engines, home for the summer with a duffel and a chip on his shoulder. They'd clicked fast, Ryan showing Ethan how to plane wood, Ethan teaching Ryan to tune a carburetor, two guys bonding over sawdust and oil, filling the empty space their dad's death had left. The garage became their haunt, late nights with the radio cranking Johnny Cash, beer cans piling up on the workbench, the air thick with exhaust and something else. It started small, Ethan's laugh cutting through Ryan's grunt, their shoulders brushing as they leaned over the hood. A glance held too long when Diane wasn't looking. Then it shifted, Ethan's hand steadying Ryan's on a bolt. A quiet, "You're good at this," that hung heavy. A night when the beer ran dry and they didn't pull away. Ryan felt it first, a pull he couldn't name. A heat in his gut he'd never chased with a girl, but Ethan felt it too, his eyes saying what his mouth wouldn't. They didn't talk it out, just let it grow, a secret stitched into every shared cigarette, every sidelong look. Diane wasn't blind, she'd catch them. Her hawk eyes narrowing when Ethan lingered too long at Ryan's side. Her voice snapping, "Get inside," sharper than it needed to be. She'd married Ryan's dad for stability. Not this, a patched-together family now fraying at the seams. She'd mutter about Ethan's lazy friends, her suspicions simmering. And one day she'd had enough. Slipped a cheap security camera behind a stack of oil cans, its red light blinking in the dark. Ryan didn't see it. Ethan didn't either. Too caught up in the hum of the engine. The hum between them. The way their hands found excuses to touch. They thought they were safe, thought the garage was theirs. A bunker against her rules. Her judgment, but Diane was watching. Waiting. A storm brewing in her clenched fists. They'd sit out back sometimes. The crickets loud. The stars cutting through the humid night. Splitting a six-pack and dodging the truth. Ethan nudged Ryan with a boot. Grinning. "You're stuck with me now?" Then Ryan'd smirk. "Guess so." His heart kicking harder than it should. It wasn't just friendship, not anymore, and they both knew it. Even if they didn't say it. Diane's shadow loomed, her footsteps on the porch, her cough through the screen door, but they pushed it down. Buried it under laughs and grease, betting she'd never guess. They were wrong, dead wrong, and that camera was ticking like a bomb, ready to catch the moment they'd light the match and burn it all down. That's where it starts. A garage thick with secrets. Two guys crossing a line they couldn't uncross. A stepmom with a lens on their every move. It's a slow burn to a big bang. And this family's about to explode. Stick with it, it's gonna get wild. If this hooks you, smash that like. Share it with someone who loves a good fight. And subscribe to Heart Stories. We're telling stories that hit hard. And I'd love you here for the ride. Diane stood in the kitchen, her hands trembling as the grainy footage played on her phone. Ryan and Ethan in the garage, their lips crashing together under the dim bulb, a secret she'd suspected but never wanted to see. Thunder rumbled outside, the Tennessee night turning black, and her scream ripped through the house like a shotgun blast. "You sick bastards." She stormed the garage, a hammer from the toolbox in her grip, smashing it into the Chevy's hood as Ryan and Ethan stumbled back, their faces pale, the air thick with rain and rage. That kiss lit a fuse, and the family blew apart in a storm of fists, shouts, and slamming doors. She'd checked the camera that morning, hours after they'd worked late. Beers empty, the garage quiet but for their breaths. Diane had felt it, something off. The way Ethan grinned too easy around Ryan, the way Ryan's eyes followed him, but this was a gut punch, a betrayal she couldn't swallow. She charged in, her apron flapping, her voice a snarl. "My son? You twisted him." "Ryan." She swung the hammer again, metal crunching, sparks flying, as Ethan yelled, "Mom, stop, it's not his fault." Ryan grabbed her arm, his voice low. "We didn't mean," but she shook him off, her eyes wild. "Don't touch me, you're no son of mine." The garage shook, tools crashing, rain pelting the roof, a war breaking out under that flickering light. It got worse. Diane dialed 911, her voice shaking. "I've got 2 deviants in my house, get them out." She didn't care they weren't blood. Didn't care it wasn't illegal. She saw red, saw sin, saw her family's honor smashed like that hood. Sirens wailed closer. But the real blow landed when Mike roared in. Ethan's dad, a bull of a man with a temper to match, fresh from a bar 2 towns over after Diane's frantic call. He didn't ask, just charged Ryan, his fist slamming into Ryan's jaw, blood spraying as Ethan screamed. "Dad?" "No," Mike roared. "You corrupted my boy." Unswung again. Ryan hitting the concrete. The storm outside drowned by the chaos within. Cops burst through, 2 deputies, flashlights cutting the dark, shouting, "Hands up!" Over the mess. Diane pointed, sobbing. "They're disgusting, get them out of here." Ethan lunged at Mike, fists flying. "You don't get it, I love him." But Mike shoved him back, his voice a growl. "You're no son of mine either." The deputies yanked them apart, Ryan spitting blood, Ethan panting, Diane clutching her phone like evidence. "Take him," she spat. "I want him gone." They didn't cuff them, nothing illegal here, but they hauled Ryan and Ethan out, tossing their duffels into the rain-soaked yard. Diane's last words a hiss through the screen door. "Don't ever come back." The truck was their lifeline. Ryan climbed in, jaw swelling, Ethan shaking beside him, the engine coughing to life as headlights swept the gravel. Mike pounded the hood. "I'll find you." "You freak!" But Ryan floored it. Tires spinning, the house shrinking in the downpour. Lightning cracked, illuminating Diane's silhouette, hammer down, tears streaming, a mother undone by what she'd seen. They'd been a family, patched together, rough but real until that kiss tore it to shreds. Ethan gripped Ryan's hand, his voice breaking. "What now?" Ryan didn't answer, just drove. Blood on his shirt, rain blurring the road, the war behind them still raging in their bones. They were out, cast into the night, 2 against a family-turned-enemy, the garage's wreckage a symbol of what they'd lost. Diane's scream, Mike's fists, the cops' lights. It was a storm that didn't just break the house. It broke them all. 5 years would pass before they'd face that wreckage again. But that night, under the Tennessee rain, Ryan and Ethan ran, bruised, bleeding, but together, into a fight they didn't start but couldn't escape. Ryan gunned the truck down a Nashville back road, the Tennessee rain still hammering the windshield. Ethan's knuckles white on the dash, his busted lip dripping blood onto the seat. They'd escaped, Diane's hammer, Mike's fists, the cops' glare. But the war followed them, a shadow that wouldn't fade. 5 years stretched ahead, a brutal slog through a city that didn't want them, a life they'd claw out of the dirt with bare hands. They'd fight neighbors, fight rumors, fight a family that wouldn't quit, but they'd fight together, building something from the ashes of that wrecked garage. Even as the past kept swinging, they landed in a rundown duplex off 8th Avenue, peeling paint, a leaky roof, a landlord who didn't ask questions as long as the rent came cash. Ryan picked up carpentry gigs, sawdust in his hair, sweat on his brow, while Ethan slung burgers at a greasy diner. His college dreams shelved for a fry cook's apron. The neighbors caught wind fast. 2 guys, too close, sharing a bed, and the whispers turned to shouts. Faggots. A guy hollered from across the street, chucking a beer can at their stoop. Ryan's fist clenched, but Ethan pulled him back. Not worth it. Their windows smashed anyway, glass glittering on the floor like a warning they couldn't dodge. Mike didn't let up, he'd show up. A ghost from Knoxville, hammering their door at midnight, drunk and raging. "You ruined my boy!" And one night he brought a bat, swung it into the truck's tailgate, metal crumpling as Ethan shoved him off. "Leave us alone!" Cops came again, same dance. No charges, but Mike's threat stuck. A promise he'd split them up or worse. Work dried up. Ryan's boss fired him after a client saw them holding hands. Ethan's diner shifts cut when the manager heard the gossip. They scraped by, pawned tools, skipped meals, hunger a constant ache. But their grip on each other tighter than the cold nights they shared a thin blanket. They fought for more, found Mia, a 2-year-old with big eyes and no one else, through a foster agency that didn't care who they were as long as she had a bed. She was theirs, adopted after months of paperwork, a light in their dark, and they'd kill to keep her. But Diane struck back, filed a lawsuit from her Knoxville porch, claiming Ethan was unfit under her care, demanding custody of him and Mia, her lawyer twisting lies about instability. Court dates loomed, Ryan pacing the duplex, Ethan slamming fists on the table, Mia crying in her crib as legal fees ate their last bucks. The family war roaring back with fangs sharper than ever. 5 years ground them down. Ryan's hands calloused from odd jobs. Ethan's grin faded under diner grease, their love a steel thread holding them through the mess. They'd dodge Mike's truck prowling their street, board up broken windows, face judges who sneered at their file, 2 men raising a kid, but they stood tall. Mia's laugh their fuel, the lawsuit dragged, Diane's venom relentless, Mike's shadow lurking, but they built a life, a rickety fortress of thrift store furniture and late-night promises. Ethan'd whisper, "We're enough," and Ryan'd nod, his jaw set, knowing every day was a battle they couldn't lose, not with Mia's tiny hand in theirs. They survived, barely 5 years of punches, from fists to court papers, a war they didn't ask for but wouldn't quit. Nashville wasn't home. It was a battlefield. And they were soldiers, scarred but standing. Their little girl the prize they'd die for. Diane's fight wasn't over. Mike's hate still burned. But Ryan and Ethan kept going, bruised, broke, unbroken, carving a family from the wreckage, a love forged in fire that no one could snuff out. Not yet. Not ever. Ryan pulled the truck into the gravel drive of that old Knoxville ranch house, the engine coughing as it idled. 5 years of scars etched into its dented frame from a war that never quit. Ethan sat beside him, Mia giggling in her car seat, a 3-year-old bundle of curls oblivious to the fire they were walking back into. The porch sagged, paint chipped, and Diane stood there thinner now, her hair gray, a cigarette glowing in her trembling hand, watching them climb out like ghosts from a past she'd torched. They'd come to face her, to claim a piece of what they'd lost, but the twist she'd drop would burn hotter than the night she'd swung that hammer. The air was thick, summer heat mixing with the stink of stale smoke and regret, as Ryan hauled Mia onto his hip, her tiny sneakers kicking his side. Ethan squared his shoulders, his diner apron swapped for a clean shirt, but his eyes flicked to the garage, its busted door a relic of that storm 5 years back. Diane didn't move, just stared, her lips tight, the cigarette ash falling like snow. "What do you want?" she rasped, voice rough from years of yelling and coughing, her lungs shot from chain smoking since they'd gone. Ryan stepped up. "Steady. We've got a daughter, Mia, and we want her to call you Grandma." Her eyes widened, then narrowed, a laugh choking out, harsh, bitter, a sound that cut deeper than her screams. She flicked the cigarette into the dirt, grinding it under her heel, and spat. "Grandma? You think you can waltz back after what you did?" Ethan flinched, but Ryan held firm, Mia clinging to his neck, her voice piping up. "Hi, Grandma!" Innocent, bright, a dagger through the tension. Diane froze, her face twisting, rage, pain, something softer, and then she snapped. "You don't get to play family, not after I lost everything." She turned, storming inside, the screen door slamming, but Ryan followed, Ethan trailing, Mia's babble echoing as they crossed the threshold into a house that smelled of whiskey and dust, a battlefield still smoldering. Inside, Diane wheeled on them, her voice a growl. "You want to know why I fought you? I hired a guy, some lowlife, to scare you off, trash your jobs, run you out of Nashville." Ryan's jaw dropped, Ethan's fists balled, the room spinning as she kept going. "I paid him to break your windows. Tail you, thought you'd give up. Split apart, but you didn't." Her eyes burned, tears spilling now. I wanted my boy back, not this. Ethan stepped forward, voice shaking. You didn't lose me, I chose him. Diane sank into a chair, her hands clawing her hair. And I lost you both. Mike left. The town turned. And I'm dying here, lung cancer, alone. The words landed like a punch. Her war, her sabotage, her sickness, a twist that lit the past in flames. Mia wiggled free, toddling to Diane, tugging her sleeve. Grandma sad? Diane's breath hitched, her rough hand brushing Mia's curls, and something cracked. Her snarl softened, her eyes locked on that little face, a mirror of Ethan's grin years ago. Ryan watched, heart pounding, as Diane whispered, I didn't mean, a half apology swallowed by a cough. Ethan knelt. We're here now for her. Diane looked up, the fight draining, Mia's tiny hand in hers melting the ice of 5 years. They'd come to claim a title, Grandma, but walked into a confession that torched their scars, a fire that might just forge something new from the ashes. They stood there, Ryan steady, Ethan shaken, Mia beaming, a family forged in war facing the woman who'd lit the match. Diane's sabotage, her sickness, her surrender. It was a twist that burned through their hate, leaving a flicker of what could have been. 5 years of running slammed into this moment, a standoff in a dying house. And the question hung, could they bury the blaze, or would it consume them again? Ryan stood in Diane's Knoxville kitchen. The linoleum cracked under his boots, the air heavy with whiskey fumes and the faint beep of a smoke detector long dead. 5 years of war, fists, lawsuits, broken windows had led them here. Ethan beside him, Mia's tiny hand tugging Diane's sleeve as the old woman's cough rattled through her frail frame. They'd come back to claim her as Grandma, but what they found was a confession, a dying mother who'd torched their lives and now faced the ashes alone. The fire had burned out, and from its embers, something fragile rose, a family stitched back with threads of regret and a little girl's smile. Diane slumped in her chair, her gray hair a mess, her eyes locked on Mia, those curls, that grin, a ghost of Ethan before the storm. I messed it up, she rasped, her voice breaking as tears cut tracks through her weathered face. Lost you, lost Mike, thought I'd save us by breaking you. Ryan's jaw tightened. The memory of Mike's fists, her hired thug's bat, flashing hot. But Ethan knelt, his hand on hers. We survived. Mom built this. He nodded at Mia, who giggled. Grandma play? Diane's sob turned to a shaky laugh, her rough fingers brushing Mia's cheek. Yeah. Kid, I'll play. The room softened, anger fading. Not gone, but buried under a moment too tender to break. She told them, lungs shot, months left. No one else, just a house full of ghosts and a heart full of guilt. I hated you, she said, looking at Ryan, but I hated losing more. He nodded. No words, just a look. 5 years of pain meeting her surrender. They stayed that day, Ethan fixing her leaky sink, Ryan hauling trash, Mia coloring on the floor, a truce carved from wreckage. Diane didn't beg forgiveness, didn't get it full, they'd never live there again. But she took Mia's hand, whispered, You're mine too. And that was enough, a bridge over a chasm they'd never fully cross. They left at dusk, truck rumbling, Mia waving from her seat, Diane's silhouette fading in the porch light, a cigarette glowing her last stand. Ryan drove, Ethan quiet. The war behind them a scar they'd carry, not a chain. They'd built a family, Mia their glue, love their steel, and Diane's nod was no victory. Just peace, a ceasefire in a fight that had cost them all. Ryan thought it over. Love could spark a war, tear a house down, but it could rise from the rubble too, if you let it. 5 years taught him that. Hate burns fast, but what's real lasts longer. They'd faced the fire, survived it, reshaped it, and left with more than they'd lost. Diane's ashes would scatter soon, but Mia'd remember her grandma, a name forged in a storm they'd all endured. Ryan glanced at Ethan. Then the road, war's end. Families bend, and love, bloody and bruised, stands tallest. What fight would you end for love? Tell me below. If this hit you, smash that like, share it with a warrior, you know, and subscribe to Heart Stories. We're here for the raw stuff. And I'd love you along.